Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And have we got a good one for you today? We are back from KC Retro, Kansas City's largest retro video game and toy convention. And we have a bunch of pickups to share with you. So, without further ado, let's get into it right after this. Hey guys, as I mentioned, lots of pickups today, and our first one is from the PS3. It's an entry into the Little Big Planet series that I somehow missed, and it is Little Big Planet karting. And much like the famed franchise that was copied by Super Mario with Mario Maker, Little Big Planet karting has a ton of creativity in it. So not only is it your standard kart racing, where you can take on friends and others, create your own vehicles, but you can actually make your own tracks. And as you can see here, just like the main game, it has all kinds of different tools and things you can do. So you can add combat, you can have racing, you can create derby style levels. Really, the creativity is limited only by your imagination. This is a fun title. Little Big Planet is something me and my wife love to play together. And so we are excited to jump into this one. And when I saw it, I just could not pass it up. Had to have it. Next up is Biohazard Director's Cut for the PlayStation Japanese version. And what can you say about Biohazard? It's the Japanese name of Resident Evil, the game that launched the survival horror franchise. The game for me is Resident Evil is my favorite horror franchise, and I just loved this game when it came out. I've probably played through it at least half a dozen times, if not more. It's one of those ones I pick up every so many years and play through. It is a ton of fun. I know when it launched, it was controversial with its control mechanism. It took a lot of getting used to, and that separated a lot of people from the franchise. But it is a ton of fun. The story centers around a group of STARS agents that are investigating a call at a mansion. And of course, when you get there, you realize the mansion is infested with zombies. Next up was a pickup for Biohazard 2. And what's better than two? Uh, Biohazard 2, of course, three versions of Biohazard 2 are Resident Evil 2. We see the story of Resident Evil continue, this time outside the mansion into Raccoon City, where Claire and for the first time Leon join the franchise. Claire's the sister of Chris Redfield, the star of the first game. And of course, Leon, on his first day of the job at Raccoon City PD, is caught in the midst of a zombie outbreak. This again is a great entry into the franchise. It launched here in the United States not long after the Japanese release. Again, great game, lots of gameplay. Again, that controversial mechanic from the first one. But this really built upon that game, expanded it in length and complexity, started building that background around the story of Resident Evil. This, of course, is the first one that really got remade into a modern version on the PlayStation 4, which and I believe also was released on the Xbox, which is extremely highly rated. The remake got, in fact, nominated for a video game award, which is unusual for remakes. And so, if you're into survival horror, this is a must-play game, and I highly recommend it to anyone, and glad to have these editions in the collection. The Biohazard franchise is not one I expected to find at a Kansas City convention, especially not in the condition that I found here. These are mint, very perfect. And that leads us into the next pickup, which is Biohazard 3: Last Escape. Another entry in the franchise. This time, we expand into more and seeing more of Raccoon City. Some of our early protagonists return with Jill Valentine with the object of escaping Raccoon City. Obviously, in the Japanese version was called Biohazard Last Survivor, but here in the United States, it was Resident Evil Nemesis, where you had to avoid this big stalking monster. It's a great game. Again, also rebuilt in the United States, or remade in PlayStation 4. Next up is Bonk's Adventure for the TurboGrafx 16. I've mentioned on the channel that I pre-ordered the Analog Duo, and it is arriving tomorrow, so I will have some unboxing and reviews for you. But in the meantime, I wanted to pick up this classic title and was so happy to find it at KC Retro. I have a few other TurboGrafx 16 and PC Engine games. So this is one that really any TurboGrafx 16 owner needs to have in their collection. Next is Spider-Man for the Sega Genesis. This is also goes under the title Spider-Man versus Kingpin and was released on the Genesis and the Sega CD, with the Sega CD version having animated cutscenes. This is a game I had as a kid, and really, when I saw it, I just had to put it back in the collection. Brings back a lot of nostalgia. The game isn't all that great for a Spider-Man game. But seen many better ones since, but again, tickled that nostalgia bone and had to have it. So next up is Jaja Maru Gukimaden Maboroshi no Kinmajo for the Famicom. And this is an action adventure role playing game, much like The Legend of Zelda. You make your way through the towns, dungeons, wield different weapons. Um, unlike Zelda, where you have hearts, in this game, you actually recover life automatically as you travel through the dungeons. It is criticized for how easy the puzzles are. A great pickup, glad to have in my collection. Next up is Supa Magura Tateki Hokun Mugura. This is a whack-a-mole style game, and when it originally came out, it was sold with a pad and mallet. And next up is Golf Co-Open from Taito, and this is more of a simplistic golf game than it is a simulator. It's very similar to Nintendo's Golf. Um, this is also for the Famicom, and really, I'm collecting the entire set of Famicom. I currently have 721 titles, and this was one I was missing. So glad to have picked that up and added that to the collection. Then we have Kyoku Harikiri Stadium 3. And you can't talk about the Famicom without talking about baseball games. There's probably 100 of them, to say the least. And this is the third in the franchise. Again, had to add it to the collection. And this is an interesting one. This is Isaki Shugoro no Keiba Kisho Gaku. And this is a horse racing game. But unlike other horse racing games, this isn't really a simulator where you train horses or ride the horse yourself. This is actually a game that teaches you how to bet on horses. Then we have Namco's Golf, or it's Namco Classic 2, which is another golf simulator. This one's a little more simulatory than the Golf Co Open, but again, NES isn't exactly known for great golf games, but this is early in the stage of Golf Simulator. So this is actually a pretty interesting one. Again, Namco known for a lot of sports titles on the Famicom, and so this is another one I needed to add to the collection. Then we have Isaki, ha ha ha, tricked you. Ide Yosuke Majin no Jisen Mahjong 2. This is one of many Mahjong titles on the Famicom, and unique with this one is it came with a special controller to play Mahjong, and so it's always exciting to get those unique controllers. Next up is Nishimura Kyotoru Mystery Super Express Satsu Jin Jiken. And this is an adventure title, one of those ones where you use keywords and the object is to hunt down and solve a murder mystery. Then we have American Dream, also for the Famicom. This one features Pachukun and it is in a series of Pachukun games. He is a pachinko ball who is basically addicted to gambling. And so in the other titles, you just pay a lot of pachinko. But in this one, it's a little unique. You fly to the United States in New York and you take Pachukan to many different casinos and play slot machines uh, with the goal of getting a certain amount of money. Next up is Space Shadow, and I want to warn anybody that there is flashing lights ahead. So fast forward now. This is a light gun game where object is to kill aliens. Famicom is really interesting in the light gun game department. Unlike the NES, they had more titles, but their light guns were also more realistic from weapons. So there is a six-shooter revolver, there is a submachine gun, and these are really nice looking, unlike, say, the Zapper here in the US. So again, another filling another hole in the collection. And then we turn to Family Basic. I mean, what can you say about Family Basic? When you get a Famicom, you really need lots and lots of business software. Family Basic is that staple. It features everything from graphics, game design. You can use a calculator. You can write music on it. Even leave notes on a message board. So again, when you're talking Famicom, you're talking business software. Next, let's flip over to the Atari 5200, and I picked up a few games here for my collection. First is Countermeasure, which is a tank game where you're invading enemy territory. You have to dodge uh, turrets, other tanks, other vehicles. Uh, what can you say? It's an Atari 5200 game. It's not going to look great. Again, trying to fill out this collection, and this is one filling those holes. Then we have Kangaroo, and I don't think you can talk Atari without talking Kangaroo. I think everybody has Kangaroo at least in one of their Atari collections. Kangaroo is basically a Donkey Kong clone. You're a boxing kangaroo, and you make your way up through levels, dodging monkeys in order to, save your what is it, a Roo or a Joe or whatever the baby kangaroo is called. Um, so, uh, interesting title. Again, it's one that you find everywhere. It is an arcade game that's been ported to the Atari 2600 and the Atari 5200. I do have the 2600 version CIB, and so adding that to the collection. And of course, next up and last for the 5200 is real sports baseball and football. I mean, when you're talking realistic sports simulators, you're talking Atari 5200 and real sports baseball and football. I mean, you can do everything from pass to run to scoring touchdowns. Wow. You just have to have a game like this in your collection, and so I was happy to pick up both of those, and the hot dog was not included. Next is for the Atari 2600, we have Raiders of the Lost Ark. And earlier this week, we got the Atari 2600 Plus, so I was happy to pick up some additional Atari 2600 games for the collection. Got a really good price on these. So I picked up first, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark, which you see here. Um, has a variety of gameplay, pretty simplistic as most Atari 2600 games are, but this is actually one of the more interesting. And lastly, we have Empire Strikes Back. Uh, really the best Star Wars film and probably the best Star Wars game on the Atari 2600. A lot of fun. Of course, has those iconic AT-AT scenes. What more could you want from a Atari game? So that's it. I wanted to share with you my pickups. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you get a chance, stop by KC Retro next year. It is a great show. Would love to see you there. Um, you know, really, it's a good time, and a lot of people come in for the show. There's a lot of um, arcades, pinballs. This year had the Tetris World Championships, the Dr. Mario Championships. So really a great time, fun weekend. Can't say enough about it. If you like this video, you know what to do. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications for more videos like these. And I will catch you on the next one.